In that bizarre time between the spring solstice and British summertime, there are still plenty of seeds to be sown in the greenhouse. When it comes to growing our own, a lot of us with our fruit and vegetables will grow one of these, and it is the species or the genus family of our cucurbits. Now, our cucurbits include our cucumbers, our courgettes, our squashes, pumpkins, melons. I'm not sure if I've forgotten any, but there's quite a few of them. And technically, we can also sort of include gourds in that family as well. However, with a lot of those, the seeds are very, very similar, and this sort of almost defines that species for us. And because the seeds are so similar, the way that we sow them is also going to be pretty much the same as well. Now, I am sowing in my unheated greenhouse, but they are going to come home with me because they are still going to need that warmth, which is not necessarily guaranteed still at this time of year. So they're going to come home in the propagators so that they're going to have that warmth. As soon as they start to appear though, they will need quite a bit of light so that they don't get leggy, because that's just going to have a really weakened plant. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to sow my seeds in these 7 centimetre pots. Now again, this is actually going to save me that time of potting on, because they do, once they get going, really sprout quite quickly. We're looking at a germination of between 7 to 14 days, and in fact we get to sort of 1 month from now, they could well be ready to plant out, although I wouldn't recommend it because again, our weather is all up and down and our cucurbits do not like frost. So all I'm going to do with this is, as usual, in this I'm just going to top up with my peat-free compost. Now I'm going to put this to the top of this pot because as soon as those leaves start to appear, I don't want them to be struggling for light, and actually if we sort of sow low down, it's not going to get enough light to it. So as soon as that's in there, just pat it down, and then I'm going to get my seed. Now they are these teardrop shapes, which I think are absolutely beautiful. And if we have a look at this, what we need to do is actually pop it into the pot, this sharp long edge down. You can just throw them in, absolutely, they will still germinate, because what will happen is as they germinate they will twist so that the plant, the leaves will actually find their way up and the roots will find their way down. However, what you might find is if they are flat, when you're watering to start off with from the top, water could sit on them and that will rot your seed. So I'm just going to pop that sharp edge down into the pot and then cover it over with no more than sort of 1/2 centimetre of compost on top. I'm then just going to water that in, pop it into a propagator, lid on, at home, and I should see that germination starting to appear quite quickly. Now don't panic if they don't sort of pop up really quickly, because what happens is you have more of the root system forming in the soil where you can't see it before you actually see the growth on the top. They will be doing something. So that's what I'm going to do with all of mine. I am actually going to make sure that I label these up really clearly. I've done this in the past where I've just convinced myself I will remember. They pop up, and actually because they are the same family, they all look the same, and I have made the mistake before of actually putting a rather large pumpkin into my polytunnel. It loved it, but it took over. Now when it comes to actually planting them out, different types of cucurbits will enjoy different places. Obviously our pumpkins and our squashes will love to be outside with lots of nutrients in the soil, full on sunlight and a really good watering. Cucumbers technically in zone 8 here in the UK can go outside, but just be a little bit wary. Either in a greenhouse or a polytunnel is probably where they're going to be happiest. And the same happens with our melons as well, which is also a part of the cucurbit family. And of course our courgettes. We will hopefully get to that point this year where we have too many courgettes, but to be honest, caring is sharing. There's no such thing really as too many veggies. So let's get on with this, labeling them up. Lots to do, lots to sow, lots to grow.